These fighting games influenced everything. Number 10, I believe, would be like the Dragon Ball Z fighting series. Specifically, I would say there's two different marks here. When they brought cell shading back to the forefront, I believe that was with Budokai 2. I thought that was very iconic when it came to like fighting games. But also Tenkaichi was when they really made the gameplay really resemble the action that's from the games. Now, why I believe this is so influential is because some games wouldn't exist because of it. I believe that none of the Naruto games, well, the 3D ones would come, like, the Ultimate Ninja Storm, they wouldn't exist. Jump Force wouldn't exist. Even certain games like how like the Saint Seiya games even are wouldn't exist without how they did their fighting system back with Tenkaichi in the first. So I believe that is number 10. Number 9 for me is Smash Bros. Now, I know that could probably be higher on someone else's list, and I get that as well. But it's on this top 10 because I believe that when it comes to like the whole platforming fighting games, no one's really been able to capture the magic that they've been able to. They've tried with you remember the PlayStation All Stars and stuff like that, and even like Brawlhalla is probably that's like a recent one they've tried, but they just keep on capturing the magic. And when it comes to their roster, everyone who loves Nintendo's like classic games, whether it's like Fire Emblem and everything, like me, I always love to hear We Like Ike. Okay, that's my guy right there. Even though he's taken a bit of a dip in recent terms, whatever. That game right there definitely iconic. So we're talking about the Super Smash Bros. Or where we're at right now in Ultimate, and even the little surprise characters they have. Like they have like my man Terry Bogard in it, who comes up later on in this list as well. So yeah, that's number 9, the Smash Bros. Series. Number 8 is Killer Instinct. Now, because this is a lot of favorites, now mind you, I'm gonna say this is not my favorite fighting games of all time. It's not that list. This is like the most influential series. Now, this only had 3 entries. There's only 3 games for this series, which is why it's so low on the 10. However, this is also influenced by 2 other games that are on this list. But when it came to accessibility, like how easy it was to get into this game, really good. Also being able to get those 20-hit combos, and like their fatality-like finishers, excellent. And that announcer that made you feel way happier about whatever you did more than you were before they started talking, the whole, ultra combo, all that was amazing. And some of the characters were very diverse in terms of like design, like, when you have like Jago, Orchid, DJ Combo, Tusk, like my cousin used to love Tusk. I don't know why. But yes, even though the first 2 games are way far apart from when they came back in for the Xbox, the game still is great, and honestly, it deserves its place right here on the top 10. Number 7, Dead or Alive. Now, Dead or Alive has had quite a few games, and it also had quite a few spin-offs. I mean, particularly their little beach volleyball, which apparently a lot of people like that. Of course he did. Perv. Kidding. Am I? Now, Dead or Alive also had a great system. Awesome system, especially when it came to the holds. So once you get that hold down, like honestly, you could get really irritating with that. And especially the way in which they jump over whenever you like have the little tag battle and the other guy jumps right on over there. Excellent. Excellent. High pack. Also, this is also inspired by like the Ninja Gaiden series as well, which is great. That's the whole Tecmo guys. So this game always looks good. I think that my favorite entry in this series is probably Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore. That's probably my favorite entry in this series. And then obviously it also had a film, a movie. Hopefully you didn't watch it. I watched it and my life is shorter because of it. So don't do it. But still influential when it comes to the game series. Super iconic characters and probably one of the most cosplayed roster of characters, I'll say. And yes, it's all the women. So yeah, number 7, Dead or Alive. Number 6 would be Soulcalibur. Now, I don't know any other. This is probably the most famous weapon fighter. Great lore, very iconic characters. Whether you're talking about Mitsurugi, Nightmares, Siegfried, Maxi, iconic characters, and a great system in terms of guard impact. And even though I think Soulcalibur 2 is probably the most balanced one, it found a way to reinvent itself with the whole customization thing. Obviously, that got neutered with the whole DLC thing, and now we can't just win all the pieces. We have to buy all of them. But look at all the characters that arrived in that, right? A lot of the characters, like, the Star Wars characters, The Witcher, Assassin's Creed. So tons of really cool stuff when it came to that roster. I even, even though I didn't really like Soulcalibur 6 initially, they did do some pretty cool things with the fighting system. They don't like the supers, didn't like that, which is why it's not in the top 5. But I gotta say it's super influential and still one of my favorite fighting series, as well as being super influential. So yeah, number 6, the Soulcalibur series. All right, top 5 time. This is gonna be King of Fighters. Now, King of Fighters keeps alive a couple of other series: the Ikari Warriors, Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, and Psycho Soldier. A couple of them that's really cool that don't have their own games anymore, but live on through here. It's also I think the very first game that had a yearly release, a yearly fighting game release, which is a really hard schedule to have. It also has iconic characters of its own. We can talk about Kyo and Iori and the whole Orochi storyline, and a great villain in Rugal. So I've got to say this is definitely iconic, especially with their gauge system. And a lot of these characters always come up in like the Capcom vs SNK crossovers, which will be in another list, which I'll do after this one. But yes, number 5, King of Fighters. Number 4 is Virtua Fighter. Now, it's not necessarily because it has the most games, but it is the first 3D fighting game. So a lot of these 3D fighting games are really based off of it. Did it master it? No, it's another one that's coming up on this list. Now, also, these characters live on through Dead or Alive as well. Virtua Fighter 5 was the last one that came out. I believe that was a couple years ago. So more entries should be coming out soon, especially for like the next gen. But these characters are some of them are iconic, like Akira and Jackie. Like, this is awesome. I like. Now, some people might argue like, why is this so high up there? And hey, I'll hear the arguments to switch around. Maybe I'll switch this between this and Soulcalibur. Maybe I'll think about that. Maybe retroactively I'll do that. I'm thinking about that right now. But whatever. Right there, they're on this list. They are number 4. Top 3. I'm gonna have to say the number 3 would be Tekken. So even though it wasn't the first 3D game, it was the best when it came to the whole 8-way run. Iconic storyline, especially we talk about the machine with Heihachi, Kazuya, and then Jin being introduced in Tekken 3, which I believe was like the holy crap moment in the series where you really realize like how good this was, and even all the way up to now in Tekken 7, which they've just progressively just been getting better and adding more and more to the game to really help it evolve, which is something very big that you don't get a chance to see with games with so many entries in the franchise, right? Yeah, Tekken. I think Tekken is everything. Now you might switch it between this and the next entry. I wouldn't blame you, but Tekken 3 is right there for me. Number 2 has to be a no-brainer here. This is Street Fighter. Now, Street Fighter paved the way for tons of other fighters afterward, because it came so early in the 2D fighting game. Obviously, Art of Fighting wouldn't exist if not for Street Fighter, because they came out literally to combat that in particular. Now, everyone, when they hear Hadouken, I mean, hell, look at my shirt. When you see that, you already know who that is. People know who Ryu and Ken and Chun-Li and Guile. They've seen those characters even if they don't play fighting games, which is something very big to say. And this is also take leaps and bounds. I think the most iconic one from this series would be like Third Strike, because of what it changed with the whole parrying system and stuff like that. But yeah, I think without a doubt it's gonna have to be number 2 with Street Fighter. Some people might switch between Tekken and Street Fighter, and I dig that as well. I dig that, but for me, number 2. An honorable mention, I would say, is probably like Samurai Showdown, because that had quite a bit of entries, right? And they also showed up in like Capcom vs SNK, and I believe like Haomaru was probably one of the most recognizable fighting game characters. I think that the entries that I had, like, not only do those influence the fighting game community quite a bit more than Samurai Showdown, but they've also, I'll say, I know Samurai Showdown came out with a installment not too long ago, but before that, it was quite a bit before that. Yeah, so that's why it's an honorable mention. Number 1 has to be Mortal Kombat. Now, I even made this list. I was even inspired to make this list because of the trailer for the movie that's about to come out in April. So I'm thinking like, what would be like some really cool fighting game list, and it was really because of that. Now, Mortal Kombat is absolutely probably the most recognizable right now. Whether it's seeing Sub-Zero and Scorpion, hearing the catchphrase "Get over here," any ice ninja is always referenced to that. Any blue ninja, everyone always thinks about Sub-Zero. You see, even in the trailer, that's why they did that. There's been multiple movies, obviously. Some that are like, you know, that were wide theatrical release, where they talking about the first Mortal Kombat and Annihilation. Then they had like Legacy Online, and they even had Defenders of the Realm, the cartoon. Just tons of awesome stuff, and just what they did with fatalities, how gory the games were. Parents were just they were just scared for you to play this game, and my mother didn't care because you know, my mom was just cool like that. But obviously revolutionized not just fighting games, but just games in general, you know, just that whole ESRB rating thing. You know, they had to really look at stuff when it came to this game. So yes, definitely number one is Mortal Kombat. You might disagree, and that's okay. I want to have a conversation about it because I want to hear your list too. I want to know what you thought your list would have been as well. Now, yeah, that's it. The next video, I'm going to do a video about games that should be brought back, fighting games that should be brought back, and the best entries within a certain franchise as well. So stay tuned for that. Into the nerd.